Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, June 16th. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday morning. It is 15th? 15th. 15th, Saturday, June 15th. Oh, that means it's payday. Woohoo, payday. Anyways, I just want to tell you guys, awesome job for getting on today. And I know there's going to be some people listening to the recording. But I just, I'm so just proud of you guys because this is a commitment, and we've read so many books together. And it's interesting because when I do my Focus 20 Zoom or talk with Linda, I always refer to our group, and she's always complimenting that we're doing this together. And when I see on Amber Olson's feed, when I went on there and everybody's like, we're reading this on our Focus 20, we're reading this on our Focus 20. I was like, look at Amber's like, who's the Focus 20? So it's just cool to see that you guys all made that comment. And, we're collectively creating this group of people that are just so dynamic that nobody's gonna be able to touch us eventually because we're so amazing. I mean, we're getting more amazinger with each other. That's probably not a word, but it's just cool to see the evolution of what's happened with this group, and to see how the growth and the continued growth and the continued, growth in leadership and personal and whatnot. And I reflect on it more and more when I'm in my day-to-day in the business, and I reflect on my day-to-day personally. And when I do something, I think of you guys, or I think of a discussion. And so I just want to thank all of you for me, and I'm sure it goes across the board with all of us. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution, because without your contribution, we wouldn't grow. So we can't do this unless we have this together. So I don't even know where all that came from, because it was not in my plan to talk about. It just came out today. So thank you guys very much. Hey, maybe it's the book. Maybe it's the book. Maybe the book is making me become a better leader, saying those things. I mean, I always mean it. I just don't say it enough. And that's one thing I do know is I do forget sometimes to say so much, and that's what I appreciate with Bo, is because Bo does that whole, I'm so proud of you, I love you. And then since he's done that, it's like, it's second nature to me. It just comes. It always does, because I told him it live. I go, we need more of that. And I appreciate you doing that, because we do need to be told words that you're proud of us, or whoever's proud of us. And he said, yes, keep doing it. So I that's definitely something she talks about, is that encouragement, is that, the success and boosting people, recognizing the success and celebrating it. But so yes, we're kind of still going slow, and I like that we're going slow with this book, because it is very cerebral, and I want to read it. I liked reading it and then reading it and then reading it. And hello, Denise. Hello, Renee. Hello, Catherine. I liked reading it. You guys you're going to have to watch the recording, because I was just on point in the beginning of this. I had a lot of good stuff I said right at 8 o'clock. Anyways, but I wanted to keep reading the same sections and getting it. So I like the first quote, and I want to read that. I like to read this first time. So leaders must either invest a reasonable amount of time attending to fears and feelings, or squander an unreasonable amount of time trying to manage ineffective and unproductive behavior. And it's interesting. I like the fact that they talk about, you do think about your feelings, and you think about your past, and when you're a kid, and you do try to keep those feelings in, and they're squanched, they're told you to squanch them, oh, you're not hurt, you're gonna brush it off, you just fell or something, and I remember as a kid, I mean, everybody has their own thing that happened, but I remember my parents got divorced when I was 2. I remember when I was old enough to remember, I don't know what age it was, that I had to figure out why I had to go from house to house, and why on Friday my mom would drop me off at my dad's house, and why on Sunday my dad would drop me off at my mom's house, and why I couldn't be with both of them. And I remember screaming and crying in the car every single week, and it only lasted a couple weeks. And I'm saying this because this reminded me. And I remember just crying, and I just didn't understand it. Why can't I stay here, and why can't I stay there? And then and what did my parents say? It'll be fine. You're going to be fine. Get over it. Don't do it. You're okay. Cut it out. That's enough, Monique. You're fine. Stop it. It's enough. Da, da, da. So by the time the next few weeks, and I kept hearing that, I remembered having to tell myself I had to be strong. And I remember telling, and I mean, I probably didn't say strong as a kid, but I remember having to be that independent person, pick up my britches, and have to go from parent house to parent house, and knowing that I couldn't cry anymore, and knowing that I couldn't show those emotions anymore. And as an adult, I had reflected on that about 10 or 15 years ago, and I remembered that that was really pivotal in who I am today, because I had to just do it. I had to just, as a kid, say, I'm going to be okay, and I can't cry because they told me I can't, and I just have to do what I have to do, and I'm an independent little girl, and I can do that. And I remember that going forward in my life. And so anyways, it was just, so when she said about the feelings, it's like, yeah, as a kid, you are told that, and you listen to your parents, you either listen to, who you're talking to. So anyways, that was my little thing. And there's probably more, but who wants to share? Because I know we've been reading for a while. So let's see who else would like to share. Raise your hand, or I'll call on you. Okay, Anne, you're first, Anne. You smiled and laughed. Go ahead, Anne.
Oh, that was funny. Good morning. Wow, this book is just incredible. You don't want to put it down. And I was way behind, and now I'm way ahead. So I kind of had to hone myself back in. But for this part that we're focusing on today, one of the parts that hit me the most, oh gosh, and then this turned off. So I was going to just read this real quick, was when I think it was point 2, when she said, we don't want our employees to get too excited because there's still so much work to be done, and we don't want them to take their foot off the gas to get complacent, so we don't celebrate achievements. Mm-hmm. And I reflected back to something, and I think I'm going to buy this book and give this to a producer that I work for all the time, because I work for her all the time, and she hires the best crew, and she puts together literally the best crew in the film industry, but she doesn't tell them that. And a lot of people will no longer work for her. And for the longest time she does huge projects. So we work like a 30-day project that's like 16 and 17-hour days, and we're working our butts off for her. And the client is really happy, but she never tells the crew that. So and can be very high stress. And a lot of crew members would always say, why doesn't she ever tell us that we're doing a great job? And in the end, the client will be really, really happy about our project. And she and I have become friends. And I said something to her one day, and she goes, well, you can't let people know how good they are, or they become very complacent and they aren't as good anymore. And I was like, or they just don't work for you anymore, because that's what's happened. She will call all these crew members now, and none of them will take the job. And even though she pays very well and her rates are really high, they just don't want to work for her because they feel underappreciated. She's the one that gets all the accolades from the client and the agencies, and she doesn't pass them on to crew. And I took that to heart with my own crew when I got big enough in our business where I had to be a department head and I have people working under me. And I thought, I'm not going to be like that. I kind of look at her in that way, and I try to always make sure that my crew, they're great. They always call me their mama bear, because I try to, like, even if it's the smallest achievement, I try to praise them and build them up. For that reason, I want them to always be there for me. But I think it's important, and I think it kind of parallels to our business. We all know how hard it is, especially for brand partners getting started, that even the smallest achievement, getting their first, PC, even if it's only a face wash, that we need to always build them up. And that kind of comes back to what you said about Bo. I love, and I soak up every minute, because right now I don't have an upline that, celebrates anything that I'm achieving. And last month was my best month in 4 years in this business. And I was so excited. And when I see, like, online, all the people, posting things for all their brand partners and celebrating them, I got so excited, but nobody was doing that for me. So it didn't stop me, but it reminds me that as you have a team, celebrate them, because I think it's really important, and it can really actually give them that little extra boost that they need. So
absolutely.
I'm not going to take any more time. There's a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I don't get your numbers, but please tell me when you do that, and I will post about you. I mean, I'll do that for you, because when I first started, I remember a lot of people didn't have that. I mean, nobody posted or nobody gave. That is so important to me. I will sit here for hours and do everybody who's 3 or free, and I make sure I do. I mean, I have done it from the beginning. I did it in all my businesses because it's so important to me. Because you know why it's so important to me? For me to recognize you is because I like to be recognized. So I know if I like to be recognized, everybody else likes to be recognized. And so please, when that happens this month, send me what you did and I'll create something and post it for you because I think that's important. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. And you're right. And it's just, there was something about that number 2 that the second one that really, it was interesting what she said. She said, so when something joyful happens, we start planning on being hurt. And isn't it crazy? Because if you do think about it, it's true. You're like, yay, I got to win. What's going to happen? Where's the next, what? And it's terrible. And I used to do that. And I know that through personal development, I've changed that philosophy in my head because you can be like, ooh, yeah, I'm really happy in my personal life. That means my business is going to start sucking. Or I'm really doing well in my business life and my personal life's going to start sucking.
Yeah.
And I would say that to myself. And of course it would happen. And now I'm like, woohoo, everything's amazing in my life. Even if it's not, it's amazing. It's that whole mindset shift. And all these books are touching all these little pieces of it for us. So, well, thank you for that. Thank you for that scenario with where you were at. Cause yes, that's not good, but it happens more often than not. I know. Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to go next or do you want me to call on you? Robin, I saw you, Robin.
Okay. Well,
and then Lori Bigham next. Okay, go ahead.
Touching on something that Ann said, working at the college for the dance department for the show was always a mix of, okay, you did that great, but you guys need to clean this part up. So it's always a give and a take. But at the end, what I always did for everyone I would make cards, surprise, but on the last day, I would give every single person who was in production a card and tell them what a great job they did and how honored I was to be sharing the stage with them and how proud I was. But everybody got a different, it was personalized. And it's funny because every once in a while, like years later, somebody will send me a picture of that card that they still had from 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to that saying is you can say whatever you want, but it's how you made them feel. And if you don't make your team feel like they're doing well and they're accomplishing things, then they're really not going to do anything. Because if they don't see that you see it, then why bother?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now this book is crazy. I can't wait to go through it again.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think that in regards to what we're all saying is the way the book is guiding us or showing us this, I guess these aha moments for us about our business or about our teams, relaying them to our personal lives is also enlightening about our personal lives with our families and with people that we engage with on a regular basis. I thought of a couple people when I was reading something, and I won't name names, but I was like, all right, let me highlight this for you and go buy this book for you. But it was just, it's like, wow, interesting, just interesting. And when you were saying that the thing about the vulnerability armory, and that was what we're reading, it says our children protect ourselves because we have our armor. And then as adults, we have to live with courage, purpose, and connection. To be the person who we long to be, we must be vulnerable. So as a kid, you can't be vulnerable, or you're not supposed to be. And then as an adult, you have to be vulnerable for good things to come. And people don't like that word vulnerable. And I've used it a couple times and they're like, vulnerable? I'm not vulnerable. I'm like, you just don't get it. It's different. It's not a negative connotation. Vulnerable is a good thing. And I think that's what's so crazy in our minds. But go ahead, Lori Bigham, because you raised your hand next. Let's see if you can unmute. Hold on, you got to unmute unmute. There you are. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay. So I'll be brief. Ditto what Ann said. I could so relate to everything she was saying. I realized in reading this, like I've spent my whole life like waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know, when something really good happens, then I forget the term she used, but it's like joy and then something, you know, basically you're waiting for the for the bad thing to happen. And so it was so eye-opening to realize that, and to see how much I protected myself and spent a lifetime, building up these different ways to protect myself. So I really could relate to that, and realize I need to read this book over and over again and try and, work on those layers of removing some of that. But I did have a chance to rumble with my boss at work this week. So I didn't use that term with him, but there was something going on and I was really uncomfortable about it. And we were going to move forward with reporting to the state, a partner, and I wasn't comfortable with it. And so anyway, I went in with him and talked through it with him, and we kind of argued back and forth. And finally he's like, I see your point, and I think you're right. Let's change it. Let's do what you're talking about. And so that felt good to be able to apply some of what I'm learning in this book. And the last thing I'll say is I can so relate to the achievement thing, because I'm like I said, ditto what Ann said. My team doesn't recognize, my upline doesn't recognize my achievements. So I see, like, in our group Facebook, like, all these people being recognized, and I'm like, oh, I got that. Oh, I got that too. And I'm cheering everybody on, but I'm not getting that. And I need that. I realize I need that to be encouraged, because I do kind of feel like until I connected with you all, that I'm kind of this, running doing my business on my own, and without team support. And so yeah, if I could hop on that bandwagon too,
absolutely.
Monique,
send me what you do, and I'll do. You want to know what's going to be? This is what happens. So I'll start posting for you guys, and then all of a sudden there's going to be an upline leader who's going to be like, who, what the, where, excuse me, and then they'll start doing it, because they're not even recognizing that they're not doing it. I know, Ann, I know your situation, but somebody in your upline is going to notice, and they're going to say, hey, wait a minute. So I'd be more than happy to do that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, before I'm gonna take our picture early, so that when people drop off. Okay, so everybody smile, because we have 16 people. We are almost a Focus 20 group. All right, everybody smile. You got everybody. Terry, do you want us to see you sweaty? Terry, or you like your stock picture? It probably doesn't.
No, you don't want to see me sweaty, and you probably don't want to hear me panting either.
You're still panting. Okay. Oh,
no.
Okay. Smile.
I love listening to everybody else right now.
Okay.
I've been all over the place as far as the book goes. I've been listening, and I got too far ahead, and I went back and listened. So I don't even, I have to kind of pick up. I got to pick up where we are again.
That's fine. Do you, since you're talking now, do you want to just share anything any insight, or you want to keep hearing everybody and then share your insight?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Today.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go to, thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. I appreciate your input. And I do actually, Lori Bigham, I have a question, because I remember on one of our Zooms, you said you're a perfectionist, right?
What, perfectionist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I, didn't you say that? You said that. And you said, I'm a perfectionist. How did that little section of perfectionism resonate?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm a recovering perfectionist. Yes. But yeah, I still battle with that. So like the whole book, y'all, if I had it here, I left it at work accidentally. and all of the on the edges and everything, I've written me, yes, eek, like all of these things, like this is me. And yeah, that perfectionism piece is that protection piece, like it's not so much, it's, that fear of failure, or not wanting to appear like you don't have it all together, or, all of that. And I can't remember exactly what she said about it. That's why I need to go back and reread it, or read my notes in the book. But but yeah, it totally was me all over the place. Like those are those layers, those layers. Got to peel that back. Got to work on that. So yeah,
Well,
that's why I was like,
I was
this
curious.
book.
Yeah, I was curious because I wanted to know, because I remember you saying that to us. And when I was reading it, and I was like, I bet now when she reads it, she's going to be like, okay, I got it. Like you just said, I got to peel that back. I've got to be that recovering perfectionist because, it's because what she says is how perfectionism is a defensive mode. It's preventing us from being seen.
Yes.
And then she said,
yes.
And then she said,
and this is like group.
Yeah, group therapy. Yeah. And then she said, perfectionism is not the key to success. Perfectionism is a
Yeah,
function.
I was going to say this is like group therapy. I'm like,
Yep.
yes, yep. I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. So no, well, not
but
all
it's
of
good,
us
and it's good.
All of us do. All of us have a little perfectionism in us. I mean, I can say all of us. I mean, I can't say everybody. I know a majority of people probably have a little bit of perfectionism in them about stuff. I mean, I have perfectionism stuff in the stuff that shouldn't even have perfectionism stuff in. Like, there's no reason for it. Like, I don't have the perfectionism in the stuff that should matter. I have perfectionism in, I like my counter cleaned and my dishes not in the sink. Like, it's silly stuff, but there's some things of perfectionism. So we all have it. But okay, thank you, Laura. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just had to ask you that. Okay, who's next? Who wants to share? Denise, go ahead. You raise your hand first. Oh, Denise was first. Go ahead, Denise.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
So I wanted to go back on that perfectionism because that hit home to me. So always working on, I don't know, my very first job, I had to deal with being judged because I was young and I was blonde. So they automatically just assumed I was dumb and that I couldn't do anything. So that forced me to strive to be perfect. I had to do everything perfect because if I made a mistake, that was what they were going to focus on, and that's how they were going to judge me. And as I'm reading through this, my boss has that. He's a perfectionist, and it has to be perfect in his own eyes. And he's good at giving recognition, but if it's not perfect, he's really good at telling you it's not perfect. That's not what he wants. It's just all wrong. That's just not what he's going for. And so all the stuff that she talks about here about it's not a self, it's basically your armor. You're just covering up and burying yourself. You're thinking if you're perfect, that's how you're going to get recognized, and that's going to make you feel better, and it actually just makes you feel worse. Mm-hmm. So that just hit really home to me.
Yeah, no, I see that. And Denise, when you said that, I was watching a show, and it's a silly show. It's like the Great Food Truck Race on Food Network. And there are three blondes that are these brunch girls. And I just see people as people, but they said, they said, we're blonde, and because we're blonde, they're going to think we're dumb, and we have to, overcome that first, and we got to win. And I never thought about people who were blonde would think that. And then you just said it, and I'm like, well, that's not cool. I'm sorry, guys, because I know there's that negative connotation. Oh, she's blonde. I mean, I used to call my friend, and I'm sorry to say this, wasn't blonde, but I used to tell her she had blonde roots. And now I feel bad because that's not very nice. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's terrible. I mean, that's like somebody saying, oh, she's Mexican, she's going to be able to cook and clean. Well, I can't cook, can't clean. But, it's a negative connotation. So I'm sorry about that. So I just had to say that because that's not cool. Because I heard it again. It's the second time in a week. So
it's funny because, people don't think that some of the things they say, they don't think that they hurt people or that they,
right.
take it to heart. So you really have to watch what you say. And so I have always become that middle ground person where I always want to tell people, you did a great job. I never tell them they did anything wrong or they did anything bad, unless they were my kids. But,
right.
It's just, I always tried to capitalize on what was good, but that wasn't always a good thing either, because then you didn't address anything that they didn't do right. So
right.
It goes both ways, but.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I think Lorene, go ahead. You wanted to go next.
Okay. Well, it's interesting listening to everybody's comments. And first off, I want to say that it is really unfortunate that those stigmas are out there about, that's just a paradigm of what people think of different types of people. And that's all about mindset for us. We have to check ourselves on where we're at and I guess fail forward. But in terms of armor, so what I wanted to say was, I grew up that armor was important and positive. And from the Bible, it talks about armor and having the armor of God, and it protects you. So that when I'm hearing about armor in this book, yes, I understand that's the negative stigma connotation. And I would have to say about 3 years ago, vulnerability was always thought of as a weakness. And in my journey of personal growth, and I sent a long note to you all this morning about that this morning, about when the student arrives, the teacher comes. And I find a lot of the stuff I hear on our group is we repeat our behaviors that we don't like. And I'm just as guilty. What really resonated me in these last couple of books is the word shame in these last couple chapters, shame. And at first I thought, shame? I'm not shameful of myself. I feel great about everything. And then there's been some work life lessons lately where I can very much feel when people don't like me, and like Monique had her story when she was a kid and what she had to overcome, or what she thought she had to overcome. When I was a kid, there were some things that happened to me, and I had a lot of shame because I was bullied severely, I was disliked severely, and it was because of what it represented is why I was disliked, because I grew up in a very gang-infested area in junior high school. It was a very tough school, and I used to get chased home by 7 girls in the gang, and they were cholas, or lowriders, which is the Mexican gang names. And I became a good runner, and I became a good runner in how to jump fences, and I was a long distance runner in high school. That's a true story. But I had a lot of shame because I didn't know why people didn't like me, and I wanted to be what they wanted me to be, but my mother refused to let me wear pants and refused to let me wear makeup. So I never became a gang member. And that's how she protected me, was what I looked like inside, but she never understood to address shame. I say all that to you because this week there have been some really challenging projects, and so I wanted to be right and not get it right. And she talks about that. And I overcomplicated a couple of projects, and then I found myself feeling really bad that I didn't hit the mark. And so I felt shame. But as soon as I addressed it, that it was shame, and I wanted to look it in the eye, I walked towards the fire instead of away from it. And that really helped me. So I am going to say to you that Bo Short is a lifetime learner. Jeff Olson's a lifetime learner. I'm a lifetime learner. And there's where I aspire to be. And I hope that I can ignite that inspiration with others. I had so this week it was set up like that, but this book has truly empowered me. I've embraced vulnerability. I am not embracing it as a weakness, and I am really addressing really being aware of how I affect others. And then yesterday there was a situation where this person, you can so feel how much she dislikes me. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. And we were in a meeting, and I got chewed out again. I got chewed out bad about some projects. And I'm sitting there, and I didn't react. I went, okay, I want to get this right. I don't need to be right. Okay, and I took notes. And why is this? Who's going to own this? Why is this way? I'll own it. No, the intern is not going to own it. It's my fault, and this is why I did what I did. How do we fix it? So we went through that process, and I got chewed out, and everybody in the office was looking, oh my gosh, Lori, oh my God. And I'm listening, and I didn't crack a smile. Again, this book has helped me. And so it was over. We went back, we went and got what we had to get done, and everything's a rush. It's 4:45, everything's rush. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, I'm here till 7 again. And my boss is busy, so I go back to my desk, and she pulls her head out, and she goes, Lorraine, come here, I need to talk to you. And I go, okay. Now I'm in a space of exhaustion and whatever. And she says, she goes, and she didn't use the word rumble. She said, I needed to do that. I needed to talk to you. I'm not mad at you. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's in trouble. But let me tell you this. I like the way you handled it. You handled it like a champ. Like I think she didn't use the word champ. She said, you handled it in stride. I said, okay. And she said, that's what I need. And you're learning, and there's a lot going on. And she goes, I get that the intern's a diva. I get it. I'm real clear. I go, yeah, boy. Thanks for saying it. Because that's the person that just has this issue. And I signed her time card. But I'm learning and I'm growing from that experience. So I'm sure some of you have experienced it. But, I always say this to you all. If we can just embrace those weaknesses and embrace those shortcomings that we have and walk towards that fire, I am just ready to conquer this. And I had 2 great sit downs this week. One potential brand partner, one sleepy brand partner, brand new, that's coming around very slowly. And the win for me, you guys, I'm talking to Lori here because this day is going to come for Lori because we're both recovering perfectionists, is that I'm meeting this baby brand partner where she's at instead of wanting her to run like I'm a roadrunner. I am meeting her where she's at, and I believe that my message to her as I'm talking to her about the process, about our system, it's coming to her, and she says she's joining us on our Zoom University. She's coming to my house, so she'll be with me on our Zoom University on Monday. We're going to do a little training. Those are big baby steps, but I've taken my time, and it's very exciting. And lastly, I will say that I've been busting my buns at work, and I had to present at the board meeting yesterday. And again, humility, vulnerability, quietness. I get up and I share my item. The board of director is somebody that I've known for years in the LA City Fire Department who's a friend of mine. But the CEO doesn't know this. The CEO has a serious case of perfectionism. I'm so sorry for her. And I get up to say what I'm going to say. My boss gets up to say what she's going to say. And he says at the end, hey, thanks, Ms. Caulfield and Ms. Lopez for taking the lead on the community relations for our communities that we serve. And I thought, drop the mic. I'm so glad she now knows there's a connection. And that felt really great to finally be acknowledged. Shame is something I'm embracing. Thank you all for all your shares. And Monique, thank you for having this. This great book is just extremely powerful.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm proud that you are sharing what you're sharing, because I know the history of you in the business when we first started to where you are today, and you've grown leaps and bounds because of the personal development, and meeting your brand partner where she's at is a huge deal. And you're going, and this is for everybody, you're going to see what comes out of that is going to be magical for her, and it's going to change your business. And you don't know that right now, but it will happen, because I've been there where it's like, okay, we'll do it this, got to do it this way. And then all of a sudden this person will probably do something great. And it's not even a matter of what she may do, but what you're doing for her, because I know her, I met her, what you're doing for her is that now she's starting to grow in the process. And she's going to become a better version of herself because you're meeting her where she's at, and you're taking your time with her. So that's huge. That's huge to me, because it's just, that's that ripple effect that we're all doing together. So awesome job there. And that again, and I'll let everybody else talk, I'm sorry. But in the beginning, how the book starts, and it talks about in the past, jobs were about muscle. Now they're about brains, but in the future they'll be about the heart. And that was huge, because that's what Neora is trying to create, is a company about heart. And when they said, we imprison the heart, we kill courage. And, those of us who are willing to rumble with vulnerability, live into our values, build trust, and learn to reset will not be threatened by the rise of the machines, because we will be part of the rise of daring leaders. And that's what's happening with us in this company, is that Jeff and Bo, and they want to create this, they are creating this company that's full of heart, that's full of happiness, that's full of love, and we will be daring leaders in this industry together. And so because we're doing it, so that to me was just like, look, that's what Jeff is doing. And that's why I picked this book, because he stood up there and said, I'm reading this book. And I'm like, so are we. We're reading it too. And I'm like, that's our next book. If Jeff said we're reading it, we're reading it. And because I want to be in alignment with our leaders, and then that brings us closer to who he is. You imagine how that's bringing us closer to who he is, and that's bringing us closer to finding those people who want that, and that's building this bigger, better, amazing company full of heart. Okay, so now, next, who wants to go next? Kathy Preshaw. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm finding myself conflicted in who I am here because I was very much raised that I had to be perfect, and I could not make any mistakes. My accomplishments were not celebrated, but anything that I did bad was definitely brought to my attention. However, I don't believe I live my life as a perfectionist now. So, like where it says, we're not here to fit in, be well balanced, or perhaps, wait a minute, or provide example for others. We're here to be eccentric, different, perhaps strange, perhaps merely to add our small piece in our chunky clunky lives. So, and that's who I think I am. I think I am an oddball. I'm eccentric. I am who I am, love it or leave it. But there is also this other piece of me that that I want to be perfect. I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I want to be perfect. So I'm just sort of torn.
Well, and I think I feel the same way, and I think is because we're told, like, I mean, we are told as kids, and you got to be perfect, but in different ways we're told that, I guess. And so I don't think that'll ever leave our head. But if you're okay, like I said, I'm perfectionist in silly things, but it is a confliction. But I don't think, I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't understand that part, but I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it when it's kind of like I want to do it right. But when it's extreme to where you can't even coach somebody or help somebody, and you want to be so perfect that if it's not perfect, it's wrong. I think there's the balance with that word, in my opinion. I think you can be extreme, or you can just be, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
So
yeah.
I get that confliction, but it's just, you don't need to be extreme in that perfectionism.
Yeah.
To where
I don't, that's an uncomfortable feeling for me to be a perfectionist like that. I'm like, I don't want to waste my time with it.
Right. No, I know. I understand. So, well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And hey, we love you. I love you the way you are. I love all of us the way we are. Shoot.
Awesome.
I love that we're all so different because we all bring something to the table. And that to me is huge. That's huge. Thank you. So, okay, Sharon, how about you next? Because you're next on my screen here.
Trying to
There you go. Are you still husbandless, or he's home now?
He's home.
Okay.
He said we went and got him yesterday. Mochi and I did a road trip to West Virginia. So so man, this really hit me. In fact, I was reading this so much because I'm doing the reading and the audible at the same time. So I was already into the fourth, past all of this. And then I had to go back and regroup and say, okay, I really have to dive into this because I really need to understand it at a deeper level. And when I started doing that, and I started taking some notes as to some of the things that really hit me. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist. Monique, you know that. I got to get everything in a row and everything done right before I proceed to move forward. So most of the time I don't proceed to move forward. And I end up, it's all in my head. Everything is in my head and it stays there and it doesn't come out. And this, when it said that the artificial intelligence is out there and that it's going to take over and they have no ego. They don't need to be right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to self-protect. They don't need to defend themselves. And they're able to do the job that we'll probably, give to them. why is it that I have to worry about what people think about me? What if I say something wrong? Oh, well. The other is my ego. I protect my ego. I don't know why, but I want to come across as somebody that is respected, looked up to, and that has been holding me back instead of helping me. I see that now. And I need to change. I need to change how I think, how I feel, and get out of my head. Yes, Monique, I want to get out of my head. Um, it's awakening. I was afraid that I would look bad in other people's eyes, and that would bring shame to me. All these things that she talked about. So it's not just being a perfectionist or the ego or whatever. I think it's everything all combined together.
Mm.
It's because one feeds into the other and back to the other. So I'm glad I was able to go back and read and reread and start taking things down, because it says here that ego, an eager and willing conspirator, when it comes to looking away, the heart, it's the voice in my head that drives pretending, performing, pleasing, and perfecting. Ego loves gold stars and drives acceptance and approval. And that's what I was doing. And I need to understand that I don't need that. I give myself permission to do that from now on.
Awesome.
That's it.
Sharon, can I ask you a question? Does it have anything to do with being raised Japanese? Because Japanese, like my friend, like I know her family, it's all about perfection.
Oh my God. My mom, being Japanese, and growing up in Japan, I had to be like the other Japanese kids.
Right.
My mom would always say, well, what will our neighbors think? What will your grandma think? What will our friends think? And I would say, well, I don't care what they think. And she said, you better think what they think. And I remember I wanted to go out, when I was like 12 years old with boys. And she said, what will they think? You can't do that. I was bad in math. Why are you bad in math? You're Japanese. You should know math. Just all kinds of things. And so I rebelled as a kid, and I got into so much trouble for it. And yet my younger sister was raised totally differently than me. And I was the one who had to be the perfect one. I was the one that my mom said, you have to take your sister with you. She's got to go everywhere with you. You're going to show her how to do it right. And yet my sister did everything wrong, and she got all the praise, all growing up. And I remember when my dad was getting ready to pass away, I asked my dad, why is it that Carol was so bad, always been bad, and yet she gets everything? She gets a new car, she gets a big wedding, she gets everything. And he said, you never asked. She asked. You never asked. And so I learned a lesson that I need to ask. And I'm still having difficult time with that, but I know what it is that I need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm still a work in progress.
Well, like all of us. I'm glad that I asked that question, because I just know my friend from Japan, and I know how everything has to be perfect, and it isn't. But well, thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Who would like to go next? How about Michelle? Michelle, you want to go next? Okay, there you go.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Morning. Just quickly, I've got the audio on the book, so I'm so far ahead, and I don't know how to get back to where we should be, because this book doesn't really tell you what the chapters are called. But I'm getting a lot of it, like everybody else is. On the comment, I don't know, I think it was Lori, or somebody said that, their upline wasn't recognizing their accomplishments. So, of course, we all try to make sure we recognize our team's accomplishments. But I just did something this month. Last month, anyway, I'd gotten my 9, and then it was posted, I was working towards my 9, and I had them for a while. And I thought, I don't care. So I posted, I got my 9, but I posted it more for people that aren't in New York to question me and say, what are your 9? So that I could get some interest going there. And then, of course, everybody from New York posted, well, way to go, and on your customers and everything. So I took some people's that sort of commented on what I got my 9. I took their comments down because I'm trying to get my people that are out there interested in what I'm doing. But anyway, I agree totally on the acknowledging your accomplishments. I was terrible at that, which I've said before, like I got to this point and I thought, well, that's okay, but that's not really where I want to go. I want the next level. So smarten up and be happy about what you've done. So I'm learning, and I'm really trying to work with my team that are working, and none of them are on Facebook. So every time their name appears on a list, I've got to send them that list through email. So anyway, that's just my little problem, but we'll get that figured out. So that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and I, and again, we're all going to get what we get out of this. And it's funny because I did think about you when it said about celebrating accomplishments, and how I know you have said, I want the next one. I got to get to the next thing. I got to the next thing. And then I remember that one day you said to us, I celebrated what I got, what I did. And that's a breakthrough for you. And that's great. I mean, that's amazing, because it changes things. And the more you do it, things will change the way they're supposed to change. So awesome job.
So thank you. That's it.
Okay.
So it's been great.
You're welcome. Okay, Liana, you're next. There you go.
Okay. Wow, I feel like now I need to call my parents and tell them they need to send me to therapy. I'm just I'm like, they owe me a lot of money here. Holy cow. Well, thank you guys for just being so honest. So I bought this book soon as we got off the plane, when my husband picked me up from when we got back from Nashville. And he's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to go eat? I'm like, take me to Barnes & Noble. So I got the book, but I was finishing another book, and then we started this, and then that's when Monique asked me to be a part of this group. But then I like to go walking too, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna, do the Audible too. But I was telling Monique last week at Regional, it's like, I'm walking, I'm like in my zone, and then I hear like a flipping truck just zoom by, and then my brain's on the truck, and I gotta come back. So I'll come home, and I'm like, I'll tidy up, do whatever, and then I'll like put myself on the couch, and I'm like listening and reading at the same time. But I'm part of the stuck on the number 2, the armored leadership. So when I got most of the time when I'm reading everything, I'm reflecting on myself, and then I will think of different people, like a family member and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Now I can kind of understand them and learn how to deal with them. But for some reason, this whole thing with like recognition and everything. So when I hit Lexus, I don't even know what we were doing, but I had a bunch of family over, and I'm upstairs. We're doing the last, like cranking the numbers and moving this and doing that. And then I came down, and they're like, oh, they're celebrating. And I'm just like, like, but I'm not going to get the car right now, So it was like, it wasn't this big deal. I'm learning for it to be a big deal for everybody else, but I tell myself that I don't need that. The other day I got a card in the mail, and I will treasure that little card forever. It wasn't the stuff. It was that little specific touch on the note. I don't really understand where these things come from. But definitely probably my upbringing. All of you have touched on different points, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh my gosh, Sharon, that's me. Lori, your voice, I hear it, and I feel like I'm listening to Brene Brown when I'm listening to my Audible. I was like, that voice sounds familiar. But let me tell you, this is definitely peeling the layers. We went on a walk last Sunday, and my husband's like, what are you listening to? So he started listening to it, and I'm like, start from the very beginning. And then he was like, he was going to teach a class and he felt like he had to do all this new stuff. And then he listened to the part where it was like, no, I don't need to Google this. I don't need to do that. He's like, just teach from what I know. That's, that's why being asked to teach is because I know my stuff. So it's just crazy that what you need to listen to in that moment is what you're learning. But I mean, this book is a lot deeper than when I signed up for initially. So I was like, damn it, Monique, best book. But I mean, I don't know. I'm like, I went to chapter 4, but now I'm like going back and I wasn't highlighting. Now I'm highlighting. But I mean, it's just wonderful. It's just nice to reflect on why we act a certain way. I did have 2 amazing conversations. One with a BP who was in the, witness protection plan. And she came over and we talked and I just said, you know what? Instead of trying to change the world with, just getting to 3-year free, does that sound like something you want to do? And so we talked and it was a nice time. And then I took somebody as a guest to the RRP market night on Wednesday. And she acts, when you first meet her, you think she's really rough, but she has amazing kids. So I knew she's an amazing person because her kids are phenomenal. So as I go in there and we start peeling those layers, it's like, holy cow, like this is somebody who I would love to work with. And after being at that RRP, it's like we touched on it. And she's definitely, this is something that she wants to do because I think maybe those talks that we're having, she feels like she can open up. And then I feel like I can open up too. So sorry for having squirrels in my head, but it's just, this is a lot. This is a lot.
Well, thank you for sharing. And, it's true. I mean, it's true. It's those layers, the book is bringing out layers of what we've gone through as kids to, teenagers to adulthood. And it's like, wow. And it's just enlightening and it's enlightening. And we're all in the place of our lives that we're supposed to be hearing this right now. Mm-hmm. And that's what's incredible because we're supposed to be hearing this right now together and growing together because something amazing is going to happen to each and every one of us in our business it's coming. And this is preparing us for that.
Mm-hmm.
This is preparing us for that.
It's definitely reading the slide edge and maybe handing this book to people. Be like, just pick a page, open it up and read it because that's what you're meant to read.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Eliana. I appreciate you sharing. Okay, Pat Scott, you're next, Pat. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. I have been so blessed by just listening to all of you. I'm almost in tears because it resonates with me, especially as a child and being overweight and being a person of color and being teased. And then when we went to integrated school, which I had not grown up going to, being the only one in some of my college prep classes and having to achieve. When I got into the workforce, a lot of times I was the only one that was in middle management. It was trying to be, my dad always said, be the best that you can be, but sometimes you have to excel so that others will notice your accomplishments. And now we're going through a transition at our church. I'm the only one who's left on the board, and we're trying to get in a new pastor, and it's been like 7 months on this. And people are looking to me as to how we should vote or the people who are coming in, how to decide on the next pastor. I don't have the answer. So all I can do is try to lead them in asking for help in making their decision, which is from God and not from me. I'm not the one, And so it's definitely applicable to my life right now as well as from the past. And I just appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it. And just with those things that you've had to overcome and accomplish, I know all of us being women and having to accomplish more as women in the workforce and women in the field. And I mean, I know I know I didn't have as much of it as some of you may have. Oh, watch it, dogs. I may not have had it as much as you guys when you were, younger than when I was younger, but I was blessed to go to an all-girls school, and I was blessed to be able to be empowered quickly, and then having a mom and a sister like I have. So I was blessed to that I didn't have that worrying about being a woman. I mean, I didn't think man or woman. I just thought I'm a person and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But I can imagine when there was all those things of being colored or being gay or lesbian, being, woman, man, being Hispanic, being white, being blonde, all of those things. That's why the society is the way it is today, because with all of those paradigm shifts, all those paradigms about who people are, opposed to just being people, and it's terrible. And that's why, again, we're here together to change that in all of our different areas, in all of our different markets, in Florida, in Virginia, in Texas, in California, that we are here to change that collectively in our group, in our circle, and we're going to make a difference. And that's why I'm saying there's bigger things coming for us. And so I appreciate you sharing that, Pat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Kathy Preshaw, don't get eaten by your dog. I know he licks your face off. It's hilarious. It comes up to you all, licky. Okay, so Solange, Renee, and Catherine. I know Renee says she's in a very loud place, and she wanted me to ask this question, so I need somebody to answer it. How do you, as a leader, build off of non-perfection to foster a growth environment? That's a deep question, Renee. How do you, as a leader, build off of non-perfection to foster a growth environment? Can anybody take that? That's like a whole book in itself, Renee. Can anybody, Eliana, you want to say something? Hold on.
I was just going to be a smart ass and say, can you translate that, please?
I know. And of course, Renee's typing it to me. I was like, Renee, what? All right, Renee, we may have to get back to that.
I think I have something. This is Lorraine.
I knew she would. I knew Lori would.
Yeah, I love Renee. I love when you push our brains. And Renee is a really smart person that probably would have answered it if somebody would have asked her,
right.
Because she's pretty intellectual. So that's an excellent question. I believe that every person has something to add to the team. And there's something to be said about somebody who makes decisions slowly, because it looks like it's not a very growth approach, because they just move slowly, or they're being really methodical, or there's definitely an intellectual side to what they're doing. So we look at it as non-growth because they take too long, whereas I'm an action-oriented person. I'm results-oriented. I move forward. I get the information. I move forward. I might make mistakes. So the way I would create a growth environment from something that looks non-growth, as you stated, or whatever the word was, is I ask them to add their value to the equation and take that in, because their methodology with 4 other methodologies equals one strong force or one strong front. So that's how I would create a growth environment, is to look at that particular person's methodology or approach, because it's going to be different than mine, and it's interpreted as a non-growth mindset, and ask them to add their value into the equation. And it ultimately, we are power in numbers, and it ultimately would create a growth environment. I truly see that, because I have a very diverse team and a very diverse group, and we all add something to it collectively.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori. There you go, Renee. You got your answer. So I'm going to just briefly, because we should finish right now. I wanted to just talk about a couple wins in my business that I'm gonna actually. I don't want to talk about that. I'm gonna do the GSR call on Tuesday again, because Vicky's not gonna be around, but she wants me to actually speak on the call, because I was sharing with her about my week and my da-da-da, and she's like, oh my gosh, you need to train on that. I'm like, they're tired of hearing it from me. And she's like, no, they're not. I need you to train on that. So I'm training on social media stuff, but I'm training on just getting out of our head and just stuff. So I won't talk about that part, because that's going to be on the GSR call. But what I want to share is what we're talking about on that feed about three-way calls. So when I started, I was not utilizing my upline. I was not utilizing my sideline. I was not utilizing anybody because I'm smart enough. I know the information. I do not have to talk to somebody about it. I do not have to get any kind of help from anybody. I could do it. I got this. I know what I'm talking. Don't worry about it. I got it. That's how I was. Until my business wasn't growing, I couldn't figure out why it wasn't growing. This is why three-way calls are so, so important. And you're an expert. You're a makeup expert. You know face. You know skin. You got to get out of your own way. Because I'm telling you what it is. When you speak and talk and talk and talk and tell them everything, they're like, okay, great. They get the information. Awesome. I'll buy the products. I'll never join your business because I can never be you. I can't do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you talk and talk and talk and talk and they're like, no, I'm good. Because guess what? They would see me as Monique the nanny, Monique the person who never washed her face. What does she know about skincare? I'm not going to listen to her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So you have those things that happen if you don't do a three-way call. So when you do a three-way call, and everybody says, well, when do I do a three-way call? Always. Always do a three-way call. There's no reason you should not do a three-way call. So when you say, and somebody says to you, hey, so what would I use for this and this and this, and how would I get rid of this? And you know what? That's a great question. I never thought of that. Yes, you have, but no, hang on a second. Let me see if my friend Monique's available. She can help us out. Hey, Monique, I have my friend, and she has this, this, and this, and here's the situation. Okay, great. Hey, so this is what I would do. And I say exactly what you would have said, but then this is how they take it. Ooh, that was easy. Anne didn't say anything. She got somebody else on the phone. I could do that. I can get somebody on the phone to explain it to me. And they don't know me from Adam and Eve, so I don't wash my face, but guess what? I'm a skincare expert in their mind. So that's why three-way calls are so important, and you got to get out of your own way because then your team won't build. And with Kathy's issue yesterday, when you kept saying, oh, no, tell her this, and I'm like, no, don't talk anymore. No more talking, because you need to have that duplication in place. And the duplication is what's key in our business. It took me a while to realize it, but that duplication, good example. I have this girl that I went to high school with, the one that saw my eye serum thing a week ago. I've known her since freshman year of high school. Super nice, super bubbly, super cool girl. And but we lost contact since high school. And then so when she said she wanted to try the eye serum, I was like, oh sure, I'll bring you the eye serum, no problem. So I sent her a video, and then I met her. I did the eye serum demo. I did not talk about Neora. I sat there and we caught up. She's going through a divorce. She has 2 kids. One's in college. One's going to 8th grade. We're talking about how she is dating a young guy, how she's she's teaching at Alverno now. She went for a temporary position. She's been there 13 years. Her and her husband had this taco stand thing that they inherited, and then they built to a big business and they sold it. So I'm getting to know her. Neora was not on my page, not on my radar. Showed her after picture, showed her a couple more before and afters. She said, yeah, I've seen your pictures on Facebook. She's never commented, been in the business almost 7 years. She's never commented. So I was like, okay. We walked to my car. She goes, well, can I get some information so I can have on my desk and I can share with people and help you out? And I have another friend interested in something for her neck. Sure, no problem. Come to my car because I forgot to give you the information. She came to my car. She goes, oh, this is the car you earned, isn't it? I was like, oh, you noticed. Oh, you've been watching. I'm like, okay. I go, yeah, this is actually my 3rd car. I said, it's been amazing. This has just been a blessing. Here you go. Here's the information on all the products. Look through it. And I went to EHC. I said, this is the most important one. Read about it. I'll send you information. Here's this about Firm. All right. She goes, yeah, it's a nice car. I said, yeah, it's real. You know what? This business has been a blessing. It's changed my life. And you know what? I'm so glad we got to meet today. Let's keep in touch. So then we left. She ordered the eye serum. I sent her how to use the eye serum. I sent her a message saying, you know what? I'm going to be having happy hour events in Pasadena. Maybe you can come and join us one of these days and meet some of the people because you're going to love them. And she says, yes. Oh my God. Yes, I want to come. 2 days ago, she sent me the message that she had a friend that was interested in the firm. Can I talk to her? I actually know that friend because I went to school with her. So I said, sure, no problem. So I sent that girl a message. That girl's interested. That's when she sent me, are you hiring consultants? Oh, I don't, am I hiring consultants? Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, yes, I am. When can you talk? She says, how about this weekend? Great. What time? It was like 10 and now we changed it to 11. Okay, 11 o'clock. I'll call you. Vicky, are you available for 11? Vicky, are you available for Vicky? Vicky's available. Vicky was a teacher. Vicky and her are going to get along great. They're going to be happy-go-lucky, la, 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 great. Guess what? She has no idea. I'm going to call her up at 11. Hey, Susie, how's it going? Did you get your eye serum? Great. Okay, so you were asking me about the business. Hang on a second. I'm going to call my friend Vicky. She's the one who shared the information with me when I got started, and she knows everything a lot better than me. Hang on a second. Call Vicky. Vicky already knows the background of this girl. She's a science teacher. She's a science teacher too, guys. She's a science teacher. She's she's a businesswoman. So Vicky will get on the phone. I'll introduce, and there you go. And I'm gonna say, okay, Susie, this is my friend Vicky. Oh my God, you're gonna love her. And then, okay, bye. And I'm just gonna, that's it, stay back. And guess what? I'm signing up a new brand partner today. I'm calling it. I'm gonna get each one, reach one, and the watch. So I'm calling it. But I had to I didn't do it that way in the beginning. I did not do it that way in the beginning. I tell you, if you can wrap your brain around doing it that way, it will work. And you know what? If she doesn't become a brand partner today, that's okay. But I'm calling it. I have other people who are just watching, and you watch. That first brand partner I get coming right now today, those other ones in line are going to see I'm welcoming somebody to my team, and they're going to feel left out because they're dragging their feet right now. They're going to be like, ooh, wait a minute. Somebody got in before me. Hold on. It's going to take more Monique's time. So you have to walk with that posture. You have to walk with that you got this, you know it, but you got to get out of your way. Just like I told Sharon the other day, got to get out of your head. Sharon, we were working on her list, and she's like, okay, so I got my list. Now what do I do? I said, okay, tell me the first name. So she told me the first name. I gave her a solution. Tell me the second name. Gave her the solution. Tell me the third name. Gave her a solution. She goes, that's it? I go, get out of your head. Get out of your own way. She's like, oh, I can do that. That's easy. Oh, I can do that. But you needed that third party. You needed that extra voice to kind of tell you what, and that's how everybody works. So that's why three-way calls are so important. I think I beat that down like a dead horse. Anybody else want to share anything before we hang up? Solange, you're driving, but did you want to add anything, Solange? Here, I can get you. I got you. There.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh my God, this book, I've cried like so much, and I look poor. You know, I hate crying because I look so ugly. But I've been all over the place with it, and it really made me look at me now. And I try to keep a pretty good balance on armored and not. Even with, especially with my own children, I feel that I always have my armored up, and I feel like I keep a good balance with people that know me, and I like to say, to know me is to love me, because I know it's hard in the beginning, and of course I thought a lot about Lorraine when I got to this chapter, but personally, I think I do a lot with my kids. I tell, and that's what I have to look at now is with daycare. I tell parents, I'm not for everybody. Everybody can't handle me, but I will give my whole heart completely to my children, but I expect things from them. So that's what makes it difficult for some families. And I think I tell them, if your kid can survive me, they will survive the world. Because I'm a straight shooter. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't pretend, even with my 2-year-olds. And I'll say this, even with my children, I don't worry about my girls traveling the world, seeing different things, because I know no matter where they go, no one is going to look at them and think, oh, those two young girls, let me get them. You hear about kids coming up missing and all that. I know for a fact I don't have to worry about that because I have given them the tools necessary to rule their own lives and protect themselves. But I've also taught them how to live their life with their hearts, and that's the most important thing. Passion. So I've cried through this whole book. My daycare this week, I took them. Of course, I go skating once a week. I took some kids that I have for the summer. I had them when they were newborn. Brothers. The first son, the mom would send me a long note every week of how he had to sleep and how it had to be quiet and what she wanted for her son. And I told her, you know what, I don't do that, but because this is your first son, I'm going to try my best. However, I think you're making a huge mistake. The second son, they're 2 years apart, she brought him, and I would give the note that she sent with the first son, I would give it back to the father. I go, I didn't need no damn note on how to care for a kid. I mean, I raised 5. Like, come on. So the second son, she said, okay, do whatever you want to do. I don't care. Here's my kid. Goodbye. And she would actually drive.
Oh.
She's been begging me every year to take them. And I've been saying no. This year I took them. The oldest one can't handle noise or different things. I have to. He says, I need a timeout, Auntie. I can't. I'm overwhelmed. I go, your mom did this shit to you. And he looked at me. He's 8. He said, what do you mean? I said, oh, your mom had all kind of notes. Your brother, look at him. He didn't have no notes. I told her he can't come here with no notes or she got to take them back. That one is like, fine. He can do all kinds of stuff. I set them both down and talked to them. And they've never skated since they left me. And I said, look, life is about ups and downs, falls, but you got to get up. It's like learning to walk. Life is going to be difficult, but you have to learn how to handle it, and you got to do what's best for you. So both of you put on your skates. Let me make sure they're tight. You're going to fall. You're going to bruise your butt, but it's only going to hurt a day or two, and you'll be fine. But by the time we leave here today, you will have no fears on getting on the skating rink. It's slippery, and you're going to crash a few times, but it's perfectly fine. For 2 hours, the oldest one whined, I can't do it, it's too noisy. I go, you know what, I'm sorry, we're not going anywhere. Get back out there. Get out there. Get out there. By 3 o'clock, we went at 12. By 3 o'clock, they were both skating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was really, really good.
Awesome.
And this chapter makes me think of that. And of course, Lorraine was on my heart with her boss. And I'm sure once she sees her boss's heart,
Mm-hmm.
she'll see more.
Yeah.
She probably was like me. I've always come into the branches that I had to clean up, and I'm always upfront and honest. And I tell them, I know I'm a hard person to get to know, but this is the job and the task I've been dealt with, and we have to figure out how to do it together as a team and get it done. And if I hurt your feelings, it's okay. Just come and tell me. I apologize ahead of time, but I still have to do my job, and I have to protect each person.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this book is amazing, and I found out some stuff about me on doing all the things that I need to do for my Niora business that I've been slacking on because I'm protecting myself, and that's another long story. I got to finish writing writing it out today, but I'm on it. I'm on it. And I love you guys. You guys make me really think about all of it.
Thank you. Yes, it's pretty incredible. So thank you very much, Solange. All right, so I say I don't want us to finish going to the end of this because I like taking the time. I mean, look how long we took to just take the time of talking about 3 points. So I think we need to read the point number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So let's just go. It's only a few pages, but let's go through 8. And Ileana, since you're doing the book and the Audible, can you tell everybody on our page where it is in both of those? So when you're listening to, because then that's going to help the Audible people. If you can just go in there and say, okay, Audible is from here, this point to this point, and then the book is page 89 to 97. So can you do that for us, Eliana?
Okay, so we're covering point 4 through 8.
4 through 8. So on the book, it's page 89 to 97.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you know what, Monique? On the Audible, it tells you each area and what chapter it is. Because I've gone back, I picked up my reading glasses so I can read as I listen. So it's been even better for me. But I had to go back to the armored section, and it takes you right back there.
Right, but I just, if she can just tell us exactly, it'll make it easier because everybody gets confused when they're doing either or.
Okay. Yeah, because there's like a gazillion chapters on the Audible.
Right. Like, okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
We could be on page 116, but it's technically in the Audible, like chapter 27.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So that'll make it easy for everybody. Thank you for doing that. So let me go ahead and stop the recording.